Hey people, guess what? Guess what? I'm back. I'm back. Guess what? Guess what? I'm back. I'm back. What's up, people? Today we're going to talk about angles. We're talk about all the angle basics. Okay, all the angle basics. We'll give you a couple vocabulary words, show you some good stuff. So make sure you got your paper, make sure you got your pencil, make sure you got your calculator, okay? So make sure you get your little calculator somewhere if you ain't got one of them. And let's get down to some angles basics. Are you ready? Here we go. All right, so let's get down to it. So these are your 3 angle basics that you ought to know, okay? So we got them little ones, okay, that are called acute. And they are less than 90 degrees. Okay, so we got acute ones. All right, and usually you'll see what's in there. Okay.
2 rays coming together there at that end point, and that's going to be something less than 90. All right, so then of course after that, the ones that are less than 90, there are ones that are exactly 90, and those are right angles, so they are exactly 90 degrees. And of course the right angles usually have that little square in the corner, so anytime you see that little thing right there in the corner, that means it's a right angle. So you'll see lots of those like when you have right triangles or in a square or a rectangle or something like that. So if you see that little corner boxed, okay, that means it's a right angle, exactly 90 degrees. All right, and then of course the ones that are bigger than 90, okay, or more than 90 degrees, but they're up to 180, okay, those are obtuse, so you know you sort of see something like that normally. Okay, so we got the 2 rays here coming together, and that of course would be more than 90 degrees. So anything that's more than 90 and from 90 to up to 180 is obtuse. And then the 4th one that you may or may not have heard of or know about, okay, is called a straight angle. And that is exactly 180. And of course that would just be the old straight line. Okay. So anytime you have just a straight line anywhere, okay, and I guess it would look like this, you have your 3 little dots on there. Okay. That's 180 degrees. So anytime you see a straight line, it can be vertical, it can be horizontal, it can be diagonal, whatever, it's 180 degrees. Okay. So acutes are less than 90. Rights are exactly 90. Normally see that little square in the corner. Obtuse are more than 90, but a little less than 180, so it might be 179.9 or 179 or 178. Okay, it's going to look like that. Obtuse. And then straight angles are exactly 180, and of course they're straight lines. So there is your 4 angle basics right there. Acute, right, obtuse, straight. Now, let's get into some of the work that we're going to be working with here. Some vocabulary you need to know. So I want to talk a little bit about complementary angles. Complementary angles. Okay, so complementary angles are 2 or more angles that equal 90. 2 or more angles that equal 90 degrees. Okay, so we're going to work on some of these and see if we can figure out how these work. So usually you're going to get a little picture like this. Okay, it's going to have that little square in the corner like that. Okay, and then it will be divided up into 2 different sets of angles. So I'm going to give these a little bit of lettering here. So U, N, C, G. Okay, so angle UNC, okay, this one, angle UNC plus angle CNG equal 90 degrees. All right, so I'm going to go through all that again. So we got angle, I should put UNC, okay, UNC, that one, and that little sign in front of it means angle, okay, plus angle CNG, CNG is that one. Okay, again, got that little angle symbol in front of it. If you add those together, that's going to equal 90. So if I told you that this one was 70 degrees, all right, so if we know UNC is 70 degrees, and we got to add something to that to equal 90, what does that mean angle CNG's got to be? Well, of course, you just do 90 minus 70. And how much is 90 minus 70? 90 minus 70 is 20, right? So that means CNG has to be 20 degrees. All right, so that would be how that works, okay? So you know that's 70. 90 minus 70 equals 20. So those two together, of course, add up to 90, make it a right angle. So those would be complementary angles. Sometimes it can be 3 angles in there. Okay, lots of times it's 2, but it could be more than 2. But we'll just leave it at that for the moment. Okay, so those are called complementary angles. Next thing we'll talk to you about are called supplementary angles. Supplementary angles. Okay. So complementaries are 2 or more that add up to 90 degrees, okay? Supplementary, if you know that those add up to 90, what do you think supplementary are? Well, it's 2 or more angles that equal, what do you think? Complementaries are 90, what do you think supplementaries are? I hear you, it's 180, that's right, okay? And so here's what the picture of that's going to look like. Okay, so we got that, and we got that. All right. So let's say here we've got angle. Let's give these letters D, U, K, E. All right. So we've got angle DUK right here. Okay, angle DUK plus angle KUE equal 180. Okay, you can see that they're making that straight line right there, or that straight angle, right? So remember, anytime you got a straight angle, a straight line, okay, is 180 degrees. So let's say you know this one over here was 130 degrees. And if you know the angle DUK is 130, you got to figure out angle KUE. So if I know this is 130 plus something equals 180, well, how do I get that? Right? So I do 180 minus 130. 180 minus 130. And of course that means this one would have to be 50 degrees. So angle KUE has got to be 50 degrees because 130 plus 50 is 180. Alright, so you can see the difference here. Complementaries are going to be making a right angle. Usually you're going to have that little square in the corner, meaning that's a right angle. And they're going to have a sum of 90. Okay, supplementary, got those together, making a straight line, and a straight angle means, of course, that supplementaries equal 180 degrees. Now, here's another little helpful hint that might help you remember the difference. You can see that complementaries got 1p. Okay, so 1p equals 90. Supplementaries got 2 p's, so that would be 90 and 90. So p and p, so that's 90 plus 90, is 180. Okay, so there's maybe a way that might help you remember it. Okay, 1p is 90, 2 p's or pp is 180. All right, so there you go. Now that puts us. Oh yeah. All right, I got somebody coming to visit you. Here we go. Hello, people. It's time for today's riddle of the day. All right, are you ready? I have no doors, but I have keys. I have no rooms, but always have space. You can enter, but you cannot leave. So what am I? That one's a good one. I have no doors, but I have keys. I have no rooms, but always have space. You can enter, but you cannot leave. What am I? So if you know the answer to the old riddle of the day, you know what to do. Just email it in. Get you some extra points. Until next time, ciao for now, baby. All right. Now, got a couple other little things I want to talk to you about, and then we'll do a little work on the calculator. All right. So you may also see some pictures like this. All right. And when you get a picture like that, of course, these straight lines are showing you supplementary pairs. Okay, so that would be 180 for those. That would be 180 for those. So let's say that you knew this was 80 degrees. And then you wanted to know what it was over here. Okay, so you could kind of just cover that up, maybe even rotate the paper around, maybe cover that up with your hand. So if you know that's 80, and these two together have to equal that straight line, which would be 180, of course you do 180 minus 80, which is 100. Okay. And then if you came around this way, if that one's 100, then this one, of course, those two together, again making a straight angle or supplementary, which means this one would be 80. And if you keep coming around the corner this way, of course, if you make those two together, they're making a straight line right there. Okay. And if that one's 80, then of course that one's got to be 100. So you can see how this works. These opposite of each other are congruent. Okay, both of those are 80. And these opposite of each other over here are also congruent because they're both 100. These are known as vertical angles. Okay, vertical angles are congruent is the geometric word. You want to use there, congruent. And the symbol for congruent is the old equal sign with a little wavy line over the top of it, something like that. Okay? Alright, so vertical angles are congruent. So let's, whatever letters this one would be, let's say this one was DUK. Alright, DUK. DUK, so that's DUK. DUK would be vertical to NC. Alright, so DUK would be vertical to NUC. So angle DUK is vertical to angle NUC. Okay? Or angle DUN is vertical to angle KUC. So the ones that are directly across from each other are vertical. So the 80s are vertical to each other. The 100s are vertical to each other. And they are congruent. So there's another little topic for today's discussion. Okay, so we've got complementary angles equal 90. Supplementaries equal 180. Vertical angles are congruent. Alright, so we got to do a little work here on one of these problems. I want to give you a little something that looks something like this. Okay? So let's take a look at one of these. I'm going to give you one that's just a hair harder. So if you'll make this little drawing here, you're going to be seeing some stuff like this coming up. Alright, so we've got that. Now again, this is a straight line, okay, or a straight angle, so that's 180 degrees. That, of course, right there is also a straight line, so that's 180 degrees. And we've got some supplementary pairs going on, but then we're going to throw some other stuff in here. Make it a little more complicated, okay? So let's say we've got that. Alright, so if we see the little right angle square here, around and talk about how all this works.
Okay, so if you see that little square in the corner, how much is that equal to? Well, that equals 90. Okay, and of course, if that and that are supplementary, okay, so you'd say, well, of course, 180 minus 90 is also 90, so this one's 90. Okay, which means this one's also 90, which means these two over here are 90. Okay, so together these two over here are complementary is the word when you've got two of them or more together that are set to equal to 90. Now let's say you knew that this angle right here was 37 degrees. Okay, how am I going to go about finding this one over here? This is angle X. Okay, well, since I know these two together are a right angle, I have to do 90 minus 37. Now if you need to do that on your calculator, you can. I'm not necessarily going to do it on mine. So that would be an 8, that would be a 10, so that would be 3, and that would mean that would be 53 degrees. Okay, because 53 and 37 is going to give you 90. Another way to think about it is these two right here, they're across from each other, that one and that one. They're vertical angles, so 90 is vertical from 90. Of course, these two together equal 90, so those are vertical as well. Okay, remember, vertical angles are congruent. Complementaries equal 90, so you got to learn your vocabulary. Let's do one more, and that'll be it for today. All right, so let's do a picture of someone like this. All right, and then we've got this. And then let's put this little line right here through it. Let's take it and do it all the way through there this time. Okay. So like that. Okay.
Now, slide it up some. So let's say you know that that's got the little right angle thing in the corner right there. Let's say you know this one is, oh,
and that's all you know. Okay? So if you know that these two together over here have the right angle in them, okay? Vertical from that would be over here, so you can put your little right angle thing there. So this is 90, and this over here is 90. And of course, if you cover that part of it up, you can see that this whole thing right here is making a straight line or a straight angle. So that means the 90 and this one and the 35 all have to add up to 180. Okay? So I know that that plus that have to equal 180. So I know 180 minus 90 is 90. And then 90 minus 35 is 55. So that means that one right there is 55. And if you add those two together, of course, that equals 90. Now, from there, all I got to know is about my vertical angles, because this one is straight across from this one. So that means this one's 35. And then my vertical angles can also tell me this one, because if this one's 55, that means that one over there is 55. All right, so there you go. That'll cover most of what you need to know for today. Hope that helps you out. So make sure you use your knowledge of complementaries, which equal 90. Supplementaries equal 180. And vertical angles are congruent. Those would be the ones that are right across from each other. Okay? So hopefully that helps you. If you know this song, you can send it to me later. All right? And if you know the riddle, send that to me later. Until next time. Peace. Ciao. Hasta la vista. Sayonara. And over and